Hello, my name is Chris Hurst, and this is the Create a Policy Part 3 video presentation. To start out, I'll tell you the name of my policy that I created, and then throughout the quick presentation here, I'll tell you what it changes, why it changes, the policy that I'm amending, and the supporting data for it. The policy I created is called the Law Enforcement Information Sharing Initiative, and it also comes with a cool acronym that I came up with called LESI. Basically what the Law Enforcement Information Sharing Initiative is, it amends Section 218 of the Patriot Act, which is the information sharing between agencies policy. It's basically an amendment of what they call FISA, or the Foreign Intelligence Services Act. What FISA was a amendment to the Patriot Act that basically says the government now has to have reasons for wiretapping and certain surveillance in order to gain the information. They're no longer allowed to just wiretap and eavesdrop on phones for just the sake of gathering information. Now they have to have a reason or a belief that criminal activity is taking place. Now, this is a great policy and a great amendment. However, it created what the U.S. government is now calling the wall between U.S. government officials and local law enforcement agencies. And what they mean by that is FISA allows information sharing about all this terrorist information and all these cyber crimes between federal law enforcement agencies and the government. However, it still makes it very difficult for local law enforcement agencies to gain the information. So say we'll use Detroit, Michigan as an example. Say there's a big cybercrime ring going on in Detroit, and it happens to be a cyber terrorism group, and the CIA or FBI or whoever happens to be tapping into this information is gathering information, but Detroit PD is having an issue getting this information because it's happened in their city. They'd probably like to know the background information on the guys. FISA created that problem because, yeah, FISA opened up the information sharing, but it also says nothing about sharing information with locals. So back to my policy, what the Law Enforcement Information Sharing Initiative does is now creates verbalized amendment to FISA saying that the government must share that information with local law enforcement agencies if they also have a belief that criminal activity is happening in their community. So, if implemented, the reason I came up with this, because if it was implemented, I believe the government should be able to come up with some sort of program that would allow local law enforcement agencies to tap into the government database of these, say, cyber terrorist groups, and make it a lot easier for them to gain access to this information. I believe it's a major step forward for cybercrime investigations because local PDs are on the forefront of most investigations anyway. Before they get handed over to the government, they're the ones that usually stumble upon the stuff first. So the more that they can do, say, in-house, and especially large departments like Detroit that already have probably large cybercrime units, this would be a massive benefit for them. And another thing that I believe LESI would be good for would be the sneak and peek amendment in the Patriot Act. The sneak and peek, we all know, is the delayed warrant the delayed warrant searches that officials can do if they believe that, if they have full-blown proof that there is something going on somebody's computer or house, whatever, because we all know the Fourth Amendment protects against unlawful searches and seizures. The Sneak and Peek Act, or let me back up for a minute. In order to search, say, a computer, there has to be a warrant present and served before agencies can tap into that information on a database. The sneak and peek amendment allows those agencies to gain access to the computer and as the warrant is actually on the way. That way there's no 30-minute wait, an hour wait, sometimes a day in order to gain warrants. And this makes the information a lot more accessible. So along with LISI, now local law enforcement agencies can implement the sneak and peek. Let's say DPD again gets a major tip on this cyber terrorism group in Detroit. This is all hypothetical. Instead of calling the feds in, which could take an hour, 2 hours, however long it may take, now Detroit can go in with that sneak and peek warrant and gain access to that information before turning it over to the government agencies. With this policy, I believe cybercrime agencies will become more vulnerable because now, instead of having just government agencies looking for these people and having information to the highest technology, now larger departments or departments with a lot of money have that same information. So now it broadens the investigatory field. So not only do cyber terrorists, cyber criminals have to be constantly looking over their shoulder for Mr. FBI or CIA, now they got to look for the boys in blue, if you will, looking at them also. And why this is important, I mean, if you think about it, the more that you have agencies working together, working towards a common goal, the better it is for everybody. And this is how it's going to deter cybercrime. Like I stated before, instead of having just government agencies working on this, now we're going to have everybody working on this. And LISI gives local law enforcement agencies a way to do that. So having the FBI and the CIA having a relationship with local law enforcement agencies can turn investigations from reactive investigations to proactive investigations, or taking proactive measures. And the reason and in closing, the main reason I bring this up or created this policy, which I think is pretty good, it forces information sharing. So even though the government agencies may not want to give the information up, now they have to. So, and with a start like that, it may even open up better relationships between your local FBI branch office and your local PDs. Now it gets more guys shaking hands, meeting face to face, knowing each other, and creating a better investigation web. And I mean, let's face it, everybody likes everybody working together as one big team and not having everything segregated. So with LISI, I think it's a good start to not only forcing information sharing, but also starting relationships with all branches. Sorry I couldn't think of a visual aid for this. I don't really have anything, but that's my policy. Again, it's the Law Enforcement Information Sharing Initiative, and then it's amendment to FISA, which is the Foreign Intelligence Sharing Amendment. Or excuse me, the Foreign Intelligence Services Act. I'm sorry. And it's an amendment of Section 218 of the Patriot Act. Thank you.